everybody, it's Scott Shetler and welcome to this week's episode of Strength and Health TV. This week I want to talk about an exercise that we use here quite a bit at my training center. We're going to talk about the reverse hyperextension. I typically talk to people who buy these benches for their training centers or their strength and conditioning facilities, and they don't get as much out of it as I really think they could. I think they kind of give up on the exercise without really implementing it properly. And I want to talk about the methods that we use as far as bringing the reverse hyper into our strength training here at my training center with the lifters and the athletes that I train. Now, the info that I got regarding training on the reverse hyperextension came from the guy that created the reverse hyperextension, and that's Louie Simmons. He often says he doesn't take credit for inventing the exercise. He's pretty sure somebody else did way down the road, maybe even in the Soviet Union or something, but he did develop the machine that we have here, the machines that are referred to as the reverse hyperextension benches. He's got patents on all the models that he has, and he's got about 4 or 5, maybe 6 different models currently that are kind of an evolution from the very first models that he's put out. So basically I want to talk about the loading strategies that we use on the reverse hyper. And again, I got this information from Louie, from going up to Westside and talking to him, from reading all the articles he's put out, from watching his videos, and this is basically the best training information that I've been able to put together on the reverse hyper. Now there's a certain technique that we use when we're doing the reverse hyper, whether we're using a strap or we're using a roller pendulum, or you've got one of the specialty ones that he's put together like the bent pendulum or the dual pendulum model. There's a few different pendulum options that the reverse hyper comes with. The model that I have is the Ultra Pro reverse hyper. It's got both a strap and a roller pendulum. The table doesn't adjust like some of the models he's got now, but I do have the options of using the strap or the roller pendulum on mine. So regardless of which attachment you're using, I find that it's typically easier to handle more weight on the strap than it is the roller pendulum, but we've got a pretty specific loading protocol that we use here that I've been able to use both attachments with pretty well. So basically what you want to do is you want to take about half of your squat max, and that's the weight that you're going to use for the bulk of using the reverse hyper. When we're looking at the total volume of the reverse hyper, it's really easy to do this based off your squat volume. And again, this is coming straight from Louie. If you listen to his podcast or read his articles, you'll find this information there. So I'm not making this stuff up. I'm going to the man who developed this, who's had a lot of success with it, and implementing what he recommends. Now typically people I've talked to that have put a reverse hyper into their training center, they'll usually do like 2 or 3 sets at the end of a lower body workout for about 10 to 12 reps or 10 to 15 reps, not really pay attention to loading, and then after a few weeks say it's a bunch of crap, it doesn't work, they don't notice any difference. According to Louie, with the lower back, with the anatomy of the lower back being a ton of connective tissue, the lower back responds really, really well to high reps. So we do a huge amount of volume with our reverse hypers. And if you track your squat volume, like we do following his recommendations for the dynamic effort squat days, if you track your volume with the squat, it makes figuring out what to do with the reverse hyper really, really easy. So I've got a couple of my lifters, some of my higher level lifters that I train, and I'll just use them as an example so you can kind of see how it works for them and how you can fit this into your training. So first, if I look at one of my super heavyweight raw lifters, Craig, who he's kind of new to powerlifting. He's only done 2 meets so far, but he's taken off really, really well. He's getting strong really quick, and he's making huge progress with his total. In less than a year, he put over 100 pounds on his total, and particularly his squat and deadlift are going up like crazy. And I really attributed it to reverse hypers as well as some of the other special exercises that we use to help build up those lifts for him. Again, he's a raw squatter. He does the dynamic effort box squats. We only use the box squats here, very, very few free squats in training. We save them for the meet. We follow Louie's protocol to a T, and he hasn't somehow forgotten how to squat like some people say. If you spend the bulk of your time doing box squats, you're going to somehow forget how to free squat. I think that's a bunch of BS because my raw lifters only keep getting stronger. They only keep adding pounds to their squat. So squatting is really not rocket science. I mean, once you know how to do it pretty well, you should be able to maintain those patterns pretty easily. So for Craig, right now his free squat in a meet, his max is 550. So his 3-week pendulum wave on his dynamic effort box squats, where we use 25% band tension, we use 50, 55, 60% over 3 weeks. When you add 25% band tension on top of that, you get 75, 80, 85% over that 3-week wave. So his bar weight for week 1 is 275 pounds, that's 50% of his max. Then week 2 we go to 305 pounds, and in week 3 we go to 330 pounds, and then in week 4 we start that cycle over. He does 12 doubles in week 1, 12 doubles in week 2, and then 10 doubles in week 3. So that averages about 20 to 24 lifts per workout. His average volume is around 6,600 pounds. Goes up a little bit higher in the second week because he's doing 12 doubles with a little bit more weight than he did in the first week. Goes up to about 7,320 pounds, but roughly his average volume is right around 6,600 pounds. So to figure out what to do for his reverse hyper, we want to take half of his squat max. So on the reverse hyper, we put 275 pounds of weight on the pendulum. Then you want to take 4 times your squat volume. So his squat volume is 6,600 pounds. So if we multiply that by 4, it gives us about 26,400 pounds. That's how much work he's got to do on the reverse hyper twice a week when we do it on the 2 lower body days. On max effort day, we do half his squat max, 4 times his dynamic day squat volume, and then on the dynamic day we do that as well. We'll also, on the 2 upper body workouts that we do, we might do a couple, maybe 2 or 3 lighter sets of reverse hypers just for more restoration, but on the heavier days, this is the protocol that we use. So again, we're going to take half of his squat max, which is 275, and we want to get 26,400 pounds, which is 4 times his average squat volume of 6,600 pounds. So that works out to be roughly 4 sets of about 20 to 25 reps in the reverse hyper that we do after his dynamic squats, after speed pulls, and after the specialty exercises that we do. Now, remember when I said Louie's made the comment that the lower back is comprised of a lot of connective tissue, and connective tissue responds really, really well to high reps. So by doing 4 sets of 20 to 25 reps, that's roughly 80 to 100 reps of reverse hypers per workout. That's a huge amount of volume. But we need to do that to get that 26,000 pounds, 26,400 pounds of total volume for the reverse hyper. So that's a lot of volume, and again, it's a lot more than some of my colleagues who have tried this exercise, or some of these strength coaches who are afraid to do like barbell squats and stuff like that, who bash the reverse hyper and glute ham raises and things like that. I just don't believe people have implemented it properly. A couple sets at the end of a workout once or twice a week really isn't going to do much. You've got to pound the volume. You've got to do a lot of reps and a lot of sets. So that's how we do it here. Again, we didn't come up with this. I'm basing this strictly off of Louie's recommendations. It works for them. Westside Barbell's the strongest gym on the planet, and they got the results to back it up. So, success leaves clues. Find out what people who are successful, find out what they're doing, and then copy it. So for another one of my lifters, David, who is elite in the 114 weight class and the 123 weight class, he's posted a 9.91 times body weight total. He's got a very strong back, and he's got a very good deadlift and a very good squat. David has squatted 425 in competition. So his that was at 123 pounds. His 3-week pendulum wave in the dynamic effort box squat with 25% band tension. His bar weight is 215 for 12 doubles in week 1. It's 235 for 12 doubles in week 2. It's 255 for 10 doubles in week 3. So then we start that pendulum over in week 4. His average volume is around 5,160 pounds. It goes up a little bit in week 2 to 5,640, but again, his average volume is 5,160 pounds. 4 times that is 20,640 pounds. So on his reverse hyper, we're going to put 215 on the pendulum, and we're going to do 4 sets of 20 to 25. So this is how I can train my lifters together side by side at various strength levels. The number of sets using the correct weights, it keeps the volume intact, so it allows you to prevent overtraining, and it's how I can have my lifters of all different strength levels squatting side by side each other in the same workout. So the stronger they get, their volume naturally goes up, and you've got to do more volume the stronger you get to maintain those lifts. So again, for David, half of his squat max is 215, and he's going to do 4 sets of 20 to 25 twice a week on our 2 heavy, our max effort lower body day and our dynamic effort lower body day. Again, on the upper body days, we like to maybe either do the weight that we normally do on the reverse hyper, or go a little bit lighter and do a couple sets, maybe 2 sets, maybe 3 sets, just for restoration work to add a little bit more volume on that lower back, and we've been able to do this without any instances. Last, I'm going to use one of my female lifters who's made huge progress really quick. She's only been training with me for less than a year, and she's already broken all her personal records that she's had in the squat, the bench, the deadlift, and she's also broken a total record in her first powerlifting meet with me. This is all after some pretty bad knee issues and some knee surgery, so she's doing very well. Amanda, her best parallel squat right now is 320 pounds. Again, she's a raw lifter just like Craig. And she does box squats with bands just like all my raw lifters do. And they haven't forgotten how to squat. Their squats only keep going up. Amanda does 320 pounds in the squat for her best right now. So her 3-week pendulum wave, week 1 is 160 for 12 doubles. Week 2 is 175 for 12 doubles. And week 3 is 190 for 10 doubles. And that's 50, 55, 60% of bar weight. And then we use about 25% in band tension on top of that. Her average squat volume is about 3,840 pounds. It goes up a little bit in week 2 to 4,200 pounds, but again, her average volume is right around 3,800 pounds, times 4, which is what we want for the volume on her reverse hyper twice a week on the max effort day and the dynamic effort day. She's going to do 15,360 pounds. So you see how these numbers, how by basing this off of your squat, how it manages the volume for your special exercises with the reverse hyper. This is pretty simple stuff here. You just have to plug in the numbers and figure it out. So again, she needs to do about 15,360 pounds on the reverse hypers. So we're going to put 160 on the reverse hyper pendulum. Again, that's 50% of her squat max. And she's going to do 4 sets of 20 to 25 to get that 80 to 100 reps. So she's doing multiple sets of high reps and getting that volume on the max effort and dynamic effort day. And again, if you want to do a couple lighter sets on the 2 upper body days just for restoration and just for a little extra lower back work, go for it. I do it all the time. My back is only getting stronger, feeling a lot healthier. It doesn't go out on me like it used to. My back's just been a lot healthier since implementing the reverse hyperextension in my training. So those are 3 examples from 3 of my better lifters on how we calculate the volume and how we plug reverse hypers into the workout. So again, just to recap all that, for weight, you're going to take half your squat max, you're going to put that on your bench. For total volume, you're going to figure out what your average squat volume is in your main squat workout, and then you're going to multiply that by 4 to come up with how much volume you need to do on your reverse hypers. Divide that number by about 20 to 25 reps, and that will tell you how many sets that you're going to do for 20 to 25. But 4 times the volume, if you're doing 4 times the reps, it should be right about 4 sets. If we do 10 to 12 sets in the workout, we're going to do of doubles, so that's 20 to 24 lifts in the squat. So we're going to do about 80 to 100 lifts, or 80 to 100 reps on the reverse hyper. See how that works? So again, it's half your squat max. Figure out the total volume of your squat workout, multiply that by 4, and that's what you do for your reverse hypers. Twice a week on your 2 main lower workouts if you're following the same template that we do. Again, on your other days, if you want to do a little bit of lighter work, a couple of sets, higher reps, totally fine. It's great for restoration and overall back health. So now that we've got the loading parameters out of the way for the reverse hyper, I want to show the basic technique on the reverse hyper extension bench. Now what you're going to notice is that when I get in, as I raise my legs up for the concentric part of the lift, I'm going to raise my head and my upper back up as well. So I'm going to lift the thoracic spine and the head up. And then when I go into the eccentric, where I lower the weight under the table, yes, I said lower and not spastically swing the weight under the table like a lot of people do, you want to drop the head and the thoracic spine. So as you concentrically raise the weight, you're going to lift the head and the chest up. Then as you lower the weight down, you're going to drop the head and the chest. So that's a key point I've noticed in a lot of Louie's instructional videos, and I feel a lot more in my back when I do it, so that's how we do it here. And again, you don't want to get into a really herky-jerky swing. I see sometimes people just blast the weight up and then they just totally go limp and then the pendulum swings down. You want to keep some tension on the legs. It's okay to you do want the pendulum to pull the legs under the table because that actually rotates the tailbone, it rotates the sacrum, and it decompresses the lumbar spine. So you want that action. You don't want to try to stop it dead under the table. You want that pendulum to pull your feet down under your chest, under your face to get that stretch, that decompression in the lumbar spine, but you don't want to just totally relax and let the pendulum swing down on its own. You want to resist it a little bit. So this movement is fairly dynamic, but it's not completely spastic either. So just pay attention to those key points. I'm going to demonstrate about 5, maybe 10 reps just so you can see how it's done all together. And right now I've got the strap set up on my bench, so I'm going to do it with the strap, but the technique applies to using the roller pendulum attachment as well. So basically you take the strap out, position 1 foot in the strap, then step up on the step on the side of the bench, put the hinge of your hip right over the edge of the table and grab the handles, and then slide the other leg in, and then begin your reps. So that was just a quick set of 10 there, so you could see, if you noticed, as I was raising the weight up, my head and my chest came up, I lifted up the thoracic spine, and then as I lowered the weight onto the table, I let the pendulum pull my legs down, so I got a good decompression lumbar spine, and I dropped my head. So that's basically how you do it. It's a fairly simple exercise to perform. The key is to use the correct loading parameters that we discussed at the beginning of the video, and like I said, plug this in to your workout and work it consistently and work it hard. Some people find this exercise to be uncomfortable. Some of my lifters hate to do it, and I've got to be on them all the time to remind them sometimes the exercises we hate the most are the ones that are going to give us the most benefit. But give it a chance, really plug it into your workout properly, work it hard, and I guarantee your lower back will get stronger, your lower back will get healthier, and your lifts will go up as a result. Remember, your squat and your deadlift, they're going to break down at your weakest point. If it's your lower back, you need to train the lower back. Just doing more squats and deadlifts won't do it. You've got to work some isolation exercises in and some special exercises to help build up those lifts. I don't buy into the just squatting, benching, and deadlifting all the time. I think you've really got to break down the lifts and train your weak points. And as those get stronger and newer weak points emerge, you've got to be open-minded, be flexible, be able to assess where your lifts are at, what your weak points are, and put more emphasis on that. It's easy to say, yeah, everything's weak, so train everything. But by the end of your workout, whatever it is at the end of the workout, if you've on your squat day, if you hit your lower back really, really hard, but you haven't trained your glutes, you're going to be pretty spent, so you might not be able to do a lot for your glutes and your hamstrings. If you're working your bench and you hit your triceps really, really hard, your delts really, really hard, and then by the time you get down to the end of the workout, you're just going to do your lats, you might be pretty spent, so you might not put as much emphasis on the lats. So find what's weak, train that first in the workout after the main exercises, hit it really, really hard, and then cycle through. After a few months of training, you might get your hamstrings up to speed, then you might need to do more glute and lower back training. So learn how to train yourself, learn how to identify your weak points, work with your coach, listen to your coach, video your lifts, see where you're breaking down, and don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try a bunch of different things and find out what works for you. That's the best way to train. Learn how to train yourself and focus on building up those weak points, and you're going to get stronger. So hopefully this video helps clear up some misconceptions about this device. I can't recommend Louie's videos, Louie's books, and Louie's articles enough. The guy's a freaking genius. Really read through his stuff, listen to what he's saying about the reverse hyper, about all the special strengths exercises that he recommends, because there is so much information that he puts out for free that will help your training as a lifter. If you're an athlete and you're just training to get stronger, his information, it's worth its weight in gold, and he just gives it away. So if you're not taking advantage of the information that he's putting out, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing your athletes and your lifters a disservice if you're a coach or a trainer. So I can't recommend his work enough. Check it out. Hopefully you like this video. Be sure to leave any comments or questions or suggestions for future video topics down in the comments section below this video. And until next time, stay strong, stay healthy.